Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 27th special session of the Ann Arbor City Council. Would our clerk please read the order and notice of special session?
Notice is hereby given that an electronic special session of the City of Ann Arbor City Council will be held on Monday, September 27th at 6:00 p.m. for the following purpose: the city attorney search process, the interim city administrator search and further process, and a closed session under the Michigan Open Meetings Act under MCL 50.268F to consider confidential applications of the city attorney, and any other business can be acted on with unanimous consent of council.
Thank you. If you're able, please rise and join us for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would our clerk please call the roll of council?
Councilmember Hayner,
Present here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Dish,
Present here in Ann Arbor. Not sure why I'm not visible, but
Councilmember Griswold,
Here, Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Song,
Here, Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Grand,
here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Medina,
Here in Ann Arbor.
Mayor Taylor,
Here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Iyer,
Here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Nelson,
Here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Briggs,
Here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Ramlawi.
Present Ann Arbor.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda? Moved by Councilmember Song, seconded by Councilmember Medina. Discussion of the agenda. As folks know, I sent around a communication earlier today indicating my request that the resolution attached to the agenda indeed be added to the agenda tonight. And therefore, may I have I'd be grateful for a motion, please, to add to the agenda a resolution to direct the city attorney to explore legal remedies in response to local government preemption regarding COVID-19 powers in Senate Bill 82. May I have a motion, please, to add to the agenda? Moved by Councilmember Medina, seconded by Councilmember Nelson. Discussion, please, of the proposed amendment. Councilmember Ramlawi.
This came to us this afternoon. I haven't been able to really digest this, what it all means. So, and there's something here that says that it requires a unanimous vote of the body to be added to the agenda.
Correct.
I know this is an important issue, obviously, but one that I'm completely unfamiliar with the language that's being proposed in this resolution. I just haven't had time to read it and digest it. So I look to my colleagues in the city attorney's office for some guidance right now.
Mayor, I think it'd be best for you to explain the situation, what you're looking for.
Thank you very much. So the Senate Bill 82 is the state of Michigan budget, broadly speaking. The state of Michigan budget includes so-called boilerplate language, that is, language unrelated to specific allocations, but which purport to provide guidance and restriction. The Senate Bill 82 includes boilerplate language that is intended to prevent local governments from requiring that their employees be vaccinated or maintain a database of vaccinated employees, among other things. As folks here on the council and in the public know, the city has made an effort and has announced that it wishes to have its own employees vaccinated in order to ensure that other employees, members of the public who are required to interact with city employees during the course of their employment and otherwise, are protected to the best that science allows. That is by action of a vaccine mandate. The resolution before council expresses its support for an employee vaccine mandate and its continued implementation, but also it includes expression against the inclusion of the COVID boilerplate language in the state budget and directs the city attorney to review and provide advice to council on the legal impact of that language. And finally, it would direct the city attorney to investigate and provide advice to council on legal remedies that could be pursued in the event that the COVID boilerplate language does not receive gubernatorial disfavor by means of a declaration of it being unenforceable or unconstitutional. Mr. Postma, have I described the context and the amendment accurately? Pardon me, and the proposed resolution accurately?
We have some, we're looking at this, but I will also tell you that Mr. Fournier, who's here, also is an expert in this area, and he's been following this very closely, and he may, I'm not asking him to correct the mayor, but I am saying he might be might have some additional things to add here, because we've been tracking it. He's been tracking it. Yeah.
Certainly, and I think the mayor's summation is correct. The primary thrust of the resolution is to direct the city attorney to provide a legal analysis for the council on what the impact of this boilerplate language might be, and also, of course, opposes its inclusion in the budget period, regardless of whatever action the governor might take, and provides a statement of support for the vaccine mandate. But I think the thrust here is simply directing a formal analysis of the impact of the boilerplate language from the city attorney's office to be provided to the council.
Councilmember Hayner.
During the discussion of this, if this makes it to the agenda, is the legal department ready to answer any questions openly about this that we might have and explain more? I mean, I'm in the same thing. I'm reading through it. I appreciate your explanation.
Yeah, not right now. We not at this point in time. And I think but the resolution directed us. That's not an issue. We certainly could do this as a matter of course, but doing it by resolution and also expressing the council's will and issue that's out there for local government. You may consider that in providing the direction in this manner, because certainly that may be appropriate at this time, given the timing. So,
okay, well, I'll move to talk about, or I'll support adding to the agenda, but I don't necessarily know if I can support the resolution itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I guess I would, because of it's further noted that this is a timely matter because the budget is slated to be addressed by the governor before the end of the week. That is to say, signed before the end of the week. And so it is, in my view, useful that we as a council express our view on this very important point prior to that time. And that is the reason why this is being brought forward just now, rather than waiting until another meeting.
So right now we're just adding it to the agenda. That's
correct.
Yes.
Councilmember Adino?
I will also just add, for the sake of when we are getting this, and because we need unanimous support to get this even on the agenda. The budget was not voted on and completed by the legislature until Friday. Staff worked on this all over the weekend. And so I think council got this literally as soon as possible, but this is certainly a timely and urgent piece that is moving quickly up in Lansing. And so I know that this is a somewhat odd way of bringing something before us, but I think the timeliness and urgency of it warrants it. So.
Further discussion of the amendment to the agenda? All in favor? Opposed? It is unanimous with 11 council members present, all voting in the affirmative, thus satisfying the 11 vote requirement. It will be added to the agenda under as DC 3. Further discussion of the agenda? All in favor? Opposed? The agenda as amended is approved. DC1, resolution to select interim city administrator candidate, moved by Councilmember Iyer, seconded by Councilmember Dis. Discussion, please, of DC1.
Mayor, I don't know if you wanted me to give some background. I have in the past. You all
If you'd
know
be so kind.
what's going on. You asked me in August, I believe, either the 2nd or the 16th. You asked to have interim external candidates brought forward on an expedited basis, and the council administration worked very quickly during this time in August, and as part of that, I brought in Mr. Earl at your direction from GovHR, who's here. He moved very quickly, as did, by the way, some of his competitors across the country who also worked to identify people and identified him as someone who specializes in this. And so all of that said, and I want to say thank you to Mr. Guajardo for setting up and John Fournier for setting up the interviews last week. That was done expeditiously and expertly, I believe, and it gave a chance for the council, the executive team, and the staff at large to spend time with each of the candidates and provide that feedback to you. You received that that feedback quickly again, I believe, on Friday. And so you are in a position to at least evaluate those two candidates and move forward tonight, which is what you had wanted to do if possible. So you have two candidates before you, Mr. Bouchard and Mr. Dohoney. And the draft resolution is to name one of them and to have the mayor and myself finalize and bring back a contract to you also expeditiously. So that's where we are. And it has been a quick time, but done what you've asked, and you have candidates that I believe are worthy of your consideration. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Postma, and I also thank you very much for that, and of course, thank you very much for your effort in connection with this search, and Mr. Earl too. Thank you very much for your efforts in connection with this search. For my part, I'll say that I was very pleased with both both candidates. I'm grateful for their having come to us, and Mr. Earl for you having brought them to us. For my part, though, I would ask council to entertain a motion to amend the resolution to add the name of Mr. Dohoney in the resolved clause. I believe, may I have a motion, please? I have Councilmember Radina on the queue.
So moved. I'll start with that. I guess you want to move.
Is there a
that.
second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Griswold. It's unclear whether I still have the queue. I'll just say very, very, very briefly that as per prior, I am grateful to both candidates, and I am particularly excited about the prospect of serving and with and learning from Mr. Dohoney, a gentleman of great expertise and obvious skill, he is a his reputation precedes him, and his reputation makes way because he is a true and consummate professional, and I would look forward very much to having him here in Ann Arbor. Councilmember Regina.
Thanks, Mayor. I wanted to follow up on that as well with some of my own thoughts. I appreciated this process. I think we heard from two really capable and competent candidates, but I think the reality for me is as the interview process went on and actually as we got survey results and saw unanimity across not just council, but staff and the executive team as well, that that it was clear that that one candidate really stood out in, and not just in a, one was better than the other sort of way, but I truly think that Mr. Dohoney kind of represents kind of exactly what we need at this moment in our city. And I think exactly what we're looking for in terms of an interim administrator. His experience and background with other municipalities is really unquestioned. And then I think, frankly, some of his just kind of answers to questions that were important to me around how he was going to work with council and implement processes to make us more effective and efficient and collaborative, to lead staff, but also really just kind of where he is in his own implementation of DEI work, which is an incredibly important piece of our city's work going forward as well. And so I was really excited by him. I think, I would say that he had a quiet confidence to him, and throughout his interview, I really just was impressed every step of the way. And so I think we would be honored to have him, and I would be very grateful if he accepted an opportunity to come work for us. So thanks.
Councilmember Griswold.
I'd just like to add that I believe the Ann Arbor community is very fortunate to have Mr. Dohoney. He has strong leadership skills, and I believe he has mastered some of the leadership skills that we have struggled with in this community in terms of metrics, in terms of collaboration, in terms of empowering our staff members. So I too want to thank him for considering this job and welcome him to Ann Arbor. Thank you.
Councilmember Heener.
I guess just to say that when I was doing my preparation, I enjoyed the interviews. When I was doing my preparation for this, I was sort of struck by some of the stuff that Mr. Dohoney had answered in previous positions where he had interviewed. I was really taken by some of his approaches to understanding the complexities of the relationships between city government, planning, development. It just struck me as a kind of a unique approach that I think would be appropriate here in our community. And so I'm happy to support this notion. I look forward to meeting him and hopefully working with him.
Further discussion, Councilmember Amlali.
Thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate the discussion, and just like to echo what has already been said, and that I think we have a very strong person coming in to help our community and help our organization. And we'd like to just welcome him and just say thanks to Mr. Earl for helping in with this process and doing an very exponential, expedient way. And yeah, just really looking forward to working and learning with our next city administrator. Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Opposed? The amendment is approved. Further discussion, the main motion as amended. All in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. I'll note with 11 council members present, all voting in the affirmative. And for my part, I very much look forward to working with the city attorney to work on the contract with Mr. Dohoney, and I'm excited to bring it and him to us. Mr. Postma.
Mayor, you asked earlier what we had done in the past as far as also touching base with the admin committee, and certainly that is not inappropriate. And the fact that the admin committee worked so closely and so on, that would not be inappropriate. So I leave it to you all. You could always call a special meeting, but that would not be inappropriate, nor will it slow down the process, in my view.
Thank you very much for reminding me of that. I know we had discussed that in the past, and that certainly is, I think, a reasonable and wise thing to do.
Well, then let me take my hand down here.
Well, Mr. Postman, having your hand up only gives us the prospect of further wisdom. So, don't let us stop you.
Well, I've just started using it at the prompting of some wise people in the city where I hadn't used it in the past. So I apologize for that.
We now have the city attorney search process, bringing us to a closed session of the Michigan Open Meetings Act under MCLA 15.268F to consider confidential applications for the position of city attorney. Have I stated it properly, Mr. Postma?
That is correct, and you have a link to that, and others will be joining in that closed session under the Open Meetings Act, but you need to vote on it first.
May I have a motion, please, to go into closed session? Moved by Councilmember Griswold, second by Councilmember Grand. Discussion to go into closed session for the aforementioned purposes. Roll. Was that a question? Roll call vote, please. I believe it is our friends in the fourth ward somewhere. Ms. Beaudry, who's the roll call person?
I have you listed, Mayor.
I was delighted to do it. I was first last time, but
Nope, then it will be Councilmember Iyer.
roll call vote, please. Starting with Councilmember Iyer.
Councilmember Iyer,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Briggs,
Yes.
Councilmember Ramlawi,
Yes.
Councilmember Hayner,
Yes.
Councilmember Dish,
Yes.
Councilmember Griswold,
Yes.
Councilmember Song,
Yes.
Councilmember Grand,
Yes.
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
motion carries.
We're in closed session. See you on the other side, friends.
Earl, thank you.
7. DC2, resolution to approve finalist candidates for the position of Ann Arbor City Attorney, moved by Councilmember Grand, seconded by Councilmember Dis. Discussion, please, of DC2. I guess I'd ask council to entertain a motion for candidate 5 and entertain an amendment, or to bring forward amendment to add candidate 5 and candidate 8 to the resolve clause, moved by Councilmember Grand, seconded by Councilmember Medina. Discussion of the amendment. Mr. Postma.
Mayor, I may just add, for the benefit of the public, the reason why we do that is they've applied in confidence, and they need to be told of the motion and a chance to move forward, but also because they've applied in confidence and are often at levels that people would expect to notify their employers and so on. And that's why it's done. The names will be added immediately tomorrow upon information from Consultant Cell, who will assist the city with both a press release and biographies, so that the public can be then notified of that, along with the schedule that will be outlined for the further analysis and interview of the potential candidates. So thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to explain that.
Thank you for explaining. Further discussion of the amendment? All in favor? Opposed? Amendment is approved. Further discussion of the main motion as amended? For my part, I would just like to say that I do truly thank all the candidates who were brought forward, those who made it to the semifinalist stage and those who did not. We are always grateful for folks who are interested in serving the city in whatever capacity. I think, too, we are particularly grateful for the good work of Ms. Sell and naturally, too, the guidance and assistance that we have from staff up and down the line, and the folks who have the good who we have the good fortune to have joining us today: Mr. Postman, Mr. Guajardo, Mr. Fournier, Ms. Redabaugh, and Mr. McDonald. We are grateful for your joint and several work and the work that of others whom you represent. City attorney search is an important one. Obviously, it is. It's a little less flashy, perhaps, than the administrator, but it is much beloved by all who have experience to work with them.
Mayor, I'm not very flashy, so that's a compliment in my.
Well, you have your charms, Mr. Postma. Further discussion of the main motion is amended. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DC3
Excuse me, Mayor, I just wanted to again thank Consultant Cell, but just confirm from the process that she will be contacting the candidates, and that's how it will move forward. So thank you.
Thank you. DC 3, resolution to direct the city attorney to explore legal remedies in response to the local government preemption regarding COVID-19 powers in Senate Bill 82, moved by Councilmember Redina, seconded by Councilmember, I almost said Councilmember Guajardo because he raised his hand. Councilmember Grand, discussion please of DC 3. Per prior, and this was briefed on the upfront, I'd like to say this resolution comes on a fast track in light of the legislator's quick action. The legislature ultimately passed Senate Bill 82 on Friday. That Senate bill includes in it boilerplate language that appears intended to prevent local governments from requiring their employees to be vaccinated or maintaining a database of vaccinated employees, among other things, to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. This is so-called COVID boilerplate language. The City of Ann Arbor on August 26th announced a vaccine mandate for employees, something which I believe is incredibly important to the maintenance and promotion of public safety and the maintenance promotion of a safe workplace. This resolution would have the effect of putting council's firm imprimatur behind the employee vaccine mandate, its firm opposition to the inclusion of COVID boilerplate language in the state budget, and activate its direction to the city attorney to review and provide advice to the council with respect to that language as to its illegal impacts, and to direct the city attorney to investigate and provide advice to council with respect to legal remedies that could be pursued in the event that the governor declines to make reference to the boilerplate language, declaring it to be unenforceable and or unconstitutional. The COVID-19 is obviously a deadly, highly contagious disease. There are safe and effective vaccines, and we would all do well to take them. And I'm very pleased that we are moving forward, that the city did move forward with resolve with respect to a vaccine mandate. And I believe that we have and that we need the authority to continue to move in that direction. It's good for the workplace, it's good for the community. And I would encourage council's support on this resolution. Councilmember Redina.
Thanks, Mayor. I echo your comments, and also just wanted to thank staff and you for working on this over the weekend. It's been a quick for us to respond. I'm just really frustrated and fed up with what seems to be an ongoing war on science by Republicans in Lansing. I'm really angry that the latest was by including this nonsensical anti-vax, anti-mask language in our state budget, and that they have proven that they're not just willing, but almost seem to have a desire to extend this pandemic and continue putting our community and the communities all across the state of Michigan at greater risk to make some reckless and partisan political point. Our municipal employee vaccine mandate is incredibly important and it needs to be protected. The mask mandate for local schools implemented by Ann Arbor Public Schools and the County Health Department is incredibly important and needs to be protected. And this effort by legislative Republicans to sneak their anti-vax, anti-science agenda into the state budget and strip our local government and others all across the state of our power to fight this deadly virus endangers the lives, health, and well-being of our residents. It eliminates our ability to effectively safeguard our staff, to protect the residents we serve, and to respond to our community's transmission rates and unique local circumstances. Municipal employees, particularly our frontline workers, our police officers, our firefighters, our AFSCME workers, and other city employees are interacting with our residents each and every day, often when they are at their most vulnerable. Requiring those employees to be vaccinated to reduce the spread of this deadly virus makes our residents and our members and our staff members safer. It moves us closer to herd immunity, and it is frankly the least that our city should be doing to bring an end to this awful pandemic. So I'm going to support this resolution. I fully support a strong and forceful response to defend our municipal authority and to keep our residents safe. But I also just want to end by saying, if you are a member of our community, if you are a member of our staff, and you have not already been vaccinated, please go get vaccinated. Do not wait. Vaccines are safe and effective. In the US, smallpox, polio, diphtheria, mumps, measles, rubella, yellow fever, and malaria have essentially been eradicated by vaccines. 2 COVID-19 vaccines, Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, have been approved for emergency use by the FDA. Pfizer's vaccine has been fully FDA approved. If you do not know where to get one, the Washtenaw County Health Department can help you. Please do your part to protect yourselves, your family, your neighbors, and our community. Help end this pandemic. Thank you.
Councilmember Hayner. And Ms. Beaudry, can I have a hand authority, please? Councilmember Hayner.
I'm trying to find said language. I'm not sure which, I mean, you know, I don't come home for lunch all the time, so I didn't see this at 1 o'clock. And so I'm trying to find the language. I'm trying to find what the latest version of the SB 82 is. I've been searching the state website. It wasn't attached to this. Is there some way that we can get this attached to the agenda so we know exactly what we're asking, what language is offensive to us and so on? I've done some general Google searches for it, and it comes up with a bunch of talk about force majeure and so on. And I would just like to know what we're asking. I don't have a copy of the latest copy of Senate Bill 82 for my perusal.
Mr. Forney, Mr. Postma, if that's available, you could forward that around.
I don't have that.
I think Mr. Fournier has not.
Yeah, I have it. I'll send it out to council right now and copy participants.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will, however, the bill is 1,000 pages long, and so it is the state budget bill, and so I'll do my best. I'll send the bill out and do my best to also provide the language in question afterward.
Thank you.
I mean, does the word COVID appear in it? Can I just search on COVID, or is there all kinds of COVID relief and everything else? And it'll be 10,000 instances of it. I mean,
You'll get 10,000 hits. So let me try and find the language.
it would seem that this is some sort of political gesture, really, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about here. I mean, if we haven't even read the language, this is some kind of known language that state houses are inserting in some kind of Republican effort, is what that's the understanding I'm hearing here. So this is a partisan kind of issue. I guess that's a question for the sponsor.
Is it a partisan issue? I don't know any Democrats who support it. That is to say, who support the prohibition against a vaccine mandate. And so, it is a partisan issue. It is an illogical partisan issue because it's a question of science. But
do we have challenges within our own administration, our own city staff, either folks who are with us under separate employment contracts or so on? Are we facing our own challenges internally? And as such, we need to essentially double down on our requirements. Is that one of the reasons we're doing this? Do we have internal challenges to people who don't want to get it and their contracts allow them to not get it and so on? There's a lot of stuff at play here.
Ms. Radabach, perhaps you can engage.
I can field that. So Tom and I are currently negotiating with the 9 labor unions the vaccine mandate. We are getting pushback from quite a few of them from their unvaccinated members. And so if this were inserted in the budget bill and not declared unenforceable and or unconstitutional by the governor, it would effectively become law. And a lot of our unions have latched onto this language and really have almost walked away from the table, and they want to see how this plays out, because at that point it would prohibit us, in theory, from moving forward with our vaccine mandate.
Councilmember Redina.
Thanks. I was actually going to kind of cede the floor to Council or to Administrator Fournier or Attorney Radabas, since I know they've been working on this, and Attorney Radabas read almost the entire budget, if not the entire thing. For Councilmember Hayner, I have this pulled up. I believe the portion of most relevance to the city begins on page 17, although there are sections before and after that related to both city mandates, local health departments issuing mask mandates for minors, and things like that throughout kind of a 10-page section there.
So this is the enrolled bill, is the version I'm trying to read. That's what it's called.
You should be looking at the Senate enrolled bill.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion of the main motion.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I just want to augment Attorney Radabau's statement that it is true that we do have some opposition from our collective bargaining units. However, the vaccination rate among our employees is still excellent. It is, I think, nearing 75%, and the majority of union members in each of our collective bargaining units are vaccinated at this point, which is worth noting.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councilmember O'Malley.
Thank you. I'm not sure if anyone's got the answer for this. Has precedent been set before with other vaccines that have been mandated by the city of Ann Arbor prior to COVID? Have there been other mandates for vaccinations prior to this?
We have in specific employee groups, we do have some vaccination requirements, but in terms of an organization-wide vaccination requirement, we do not have precedent for that. I'm not sure that in recent history, though, there's been a public health crisis that elevates to the seriousness of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Further discussion of the main motion? Councilmember Hayner.
Yeah, I know that we speak as a body and so on, and so this is obviously likely that this is going to pass, but I'm not going to vote for it because I haven't read it. I don't understand what we're voting on, and I feel uncomfortable doing that. And everyone can put put whatever they want to that, and they will anyway. But I'm just going to pass because I'm certain that pass on affirming this. I'm certain that it will pass because we do speak as a body. But I don't understand it, so I'm uncomfortable making a commitment, especially I'm not familiar with our labor issues we're having right now. So that's all. I just want to throw that out there. No offense to everyone. It's not a disbelief in science. I don't know what we're voting on here. So,
Councilmember O'Malley.
Thank you. I just have a question, somewhat procedurally on this, whether we will be coming back for a vote supporting the citywide mandate on vaccinations. After we get the legal advice from our city attorney's office, will we be taking another vote on this, or will we not if this is not challenged as being unconstitutional and unenforceable? I will just would like to know. I have some concerns. Again, I haven't read everything, knowing what we're voting on the surface, it obviously it seems the right thing to do, but I'm just not clear whether we're going to have another bite at this apple, or would this kind of sign off on this body and whoever votes for it as being supportive of this without first getting the legal opinion of our legal department.
Councilmember, I'm going to defer also to Attorney Radabaugh and perhaps Mr. Fournier on this issue. What's intended to come back, I have not reviewed this as carefully as they have, and what you're asking for is an understanding from us, whether it's a public legal opinion or I think you're asking for that. So if it's just legal advice, we can provide that, but also our advice to you on the constitutionality. This is going to go forward and going to be litigated and so on, and perhaps Attorney Radabaugh can provide some additional clarification of what we can provide here. Actually, that will be useful to you.
So the governor's scheduled to make a decision, but Thursday at midnight, I believe, is the deadline. So if she declares this boilerplate language unenforceable and or unconstitutional, then I don't think there is an issue. But what this resolution would do would be to direct the city attorney to provide advice about what our options are as a city should she not make that declaration. What does that do for our vaccine mandate? So is there any type of preemption issue? Should council wish to challenge it or take any action? It would be all your options about proceeding.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking whether it's a legal advice that you're seeking or a public opinion. And this is an important issue. If we're providing tactical and other legal advice on potential litigation, that I would not recommend that be in public.
There's no reference in the resolution to a public opinion.
Okay, well, the term legal opinion, okay,
There's no term reference to
Okay.
opinion.
okay.
Councilmember Grand.
Sorry, I just really want to appreciate the work that staff did over the weekend. This to me is actually, I think part of the confusion is that because it's an if then, if what then this, and so if A then B, if C then D. So I think given that level of uncertainty, this is about as clear as it gets. And for me, this issue is about as clear as it gets. This is city policy. It's city policy that I think we should all get behind very strongly, so that those that are serving our community are doing so in a way that protects the safety of our community, and is reflective of our values. So this mandate is incredibly important to me personally, and I just really appreciate the work that staff has done so that we can give it our best shot to maintain it.
I got Councilmember Hayner on the queue. Normally you've spoken twice, but it's been more in the vein of questions with council's acquiescence. I'll have you roll a third time just because there
Well,
are.
yeah, just briefly, I just replied to Mr. Fournier's thing. I think it's section 227 is what I'm falling under here, what I'm finding. And it says, anybody who wants to finances on, who wants to have any funding under number 1, and then it starts talking about COVID. And so I think I sent around the right clip for everybody is all I want to say. And as far as the city policy, I mean, I think it was an RFI question, Mr. Fournier, maybe it was just a question to you, but I think I'd ask, because I had residents ask me, what is the city policy that mandates, the employees do this? And is that something that came from council, or it's just sort of a health policy? And it was referred to other communities doing it, and it was sort of an administrative policy. Is that what I understand? It's not, council hasn't ever said, hey, we got to make sure everybody gets in, vaccinated, or anybody has this condition of employment or that condition of employment. That's not a council policy, is it? It was just
Council
sort of
did
like
not.
an administrative policy.
Council did not pass a resolution directing the administrator to do it. I, as the administrator, issued it as the manager of the personnel system of the city.
Okay, all right, thanks. I just wanted to clear that up. I appreciate it.
Councilmember Griswold. I'm sorry, Mr. Fournier.
I'm sorry, in relation to the language you sent around, the language you sent around is generally correct, although you'll note in the bill, this specific preemption language kind of repeats over and over again because they've inserted it in the budget bill to cover every single departmental budget. I can't remember off the top of my head which section specifically details with revenue sharing, if it's section 225 or 226 or 227, but generally speaking, the language you provided is the language we're concerned about, and I can excise it even more and provide that back to the
That's
council.
okay. I just wanted to double check it. That's what it looked like when I jumped through it just now. And
Right.
I get it, saying right up, what we just described, this case and so on, all the way through it, it looks like.
Yes.
So it is kind of an unusual effort. It's very odd.
Councilmember Griswold.
I want to encourage all of my colleagues to support this resolution. I think we've become somewhat complacent regarding vaccines. And for most of us, vaccines were required in school. And so it wasn't so much an adult workplace issue. I just want to state that both of my parents had polio, very serious cases. When I was 2 years old, my mother spent many months in an iron lung and almost died. So this is really life and death. And it's also a matter of people going to the hospital and not being treated because of the capacity being taken by non-vaccinated COVID patients. And so people who have had their vaccines, who have other medical conditions, are now being impacted by this. So I encourage everyone to vote for this resolution and to encourage friends and family to be vaccinated. Thank you.
Councilmember Song.
I just wanted to share some messages I received from constituents who were concerned when this news came out the end of last week. We have parents who are really worried. We know more now. So here we are going into another year of the pandemic and having access to vaccines, an amazing health department, working on this, setting up pop-up clinics as quickly as possible. They had a pop-up clinic at the skate parks this weekend. My oldest aunt had polio in Vietnam, 1940s Vietnam, that was largely untreated. So, I feel like this is a really good opportunity for us to demonstrate the care and, what the expectations are to be a part of to work with our city, to be on staff at our city. And I hope that we can come through with this and kind of alleviate some of the worry that we have between now until Thursday, when hopefully this will be, the state language will be overturned.
Councilmember Omlawi, again, this is your third time, and we'll have this one be the last if we may, but in light of the special circumstances. Councilmember Omlawi.
Thank you for the extra consideration. I just wanted to ask a quick question on whether this also governs council members being mandated to have the vaccine. Am I correct, since we are employees of the city, that we are required to also be vaccinated?
Mr. Postma, I believe this is one of those issues where the council members would be excluded because you are not considered employees of the city.
Right, you're employees for tax purposes, but you're technically not employees under the traditional sense. That's right. Yeah. So
for me, I find it troubling that we're asking others to be vaccinated when we're not asking for ourselves to be vaccinated. I don't know if there's something that we can discuss later or now about that. But I think, as leaders on this, we should be leading by example when it comes to this. And I'm not sure parliamentary or procedurally how that can happen, but I think it's important for us to lead by example and include ourselves in this mandate.
I think you can lead, Councilmember Omlawi, I think you can lead by stating the importance of vaccination to the community. That's certainly one thing that you can do. And if you want a resolution encouraging all council members to be vaccinated, that's another thing you can do at any upcoming meeting.
Thank you. I may just do that. Thank you.
Further discussion of the main motion? Just in closing, I would like to express my thanks to staff for working with me on this resolution. There's a lot going on, of course, during the late week and the weekends, and staff was very, very responsive and enthusiastic with this. It is an incredibly important piece of, that is to say, the city's vaccination mandate is an important part of keeping our workplace safe, keeping our community safe, and keeping those with whom we interact safe. And the prospect of the state attempting to regulate and prohibit that is anathema to public safety and good government. Further discussion of the main motion? Roll call vote, please, starting with Councilmember Ryer.
Councilmember Ryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Omlawi?
Yes.
Councilmember Hayner?
Yeah, I guess, yes.
Councilmember Dish?
Yes.
Councilmember Griswold?
Yes.
Councilmember Song?
Yes.
Councilmember Song?
Councilmember Song, you're inaudible.
Yes.
Councilmember Grand?
Yes.
Councilmember Redina?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We now come to public comment general time. Public comment general time is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to council and the community about matters of municipal interest. To speak at public comment general time, you need not have signed up in advance, but you must dial the number on your screen. That is 877-853-5247. 877-853-5247. Once you're connected, please enter meeting ID 942-1273-2148. 942-1273-2148. Once you're connected, please, and you wish to speak, please enter *9. *9 to indicate that you wish to speak. You'll have 3 minutes of wish to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Is there anyone who'd like to speak at public comment?
Mayor, I don't see anyone with their hand up at this time.
Seeing no one, public comment is closed. Other communications today from council. Councilmember Briggs.
I didn't want to speak to this issue on the last agenda item, but just to express my support for vaccines. And obviously, I concur with everything that got said in the last agenda item, but I'm happy to say that not only did I get vaccinated, my husband was vaccinated, my 13-year-old was vaccinated. I fully support vaccines for every member of our community, for kids, and I'm looking forward to the vaccines being authorized for younger residents in our community as well. I'm incredibly troubled by the fact that not only is there an anti-vaccine movement, but also a movement to encourage people to try alternative treatments at home that are dangerous. And I strongly discourage folks from doing anything other than getting vaccinated and going to the hospital for treatment should they get sick. So I just wanted to share my personal support for vaccines amongst us.
Councilmember Griswold.
I realize these are very difficult times for our community, for our country, for the world, but I want to acknowledge that there's been a positive tone on local social media recently, and it's been used more for problem solving than for attacking each other. And I do recognize it, and I'm very thankful.
Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. I just wanted to take the opportunity to comment on the fact that there is a large population of unvaccinated people in the community, and I work with them at the preschool I work at, and every day I am aware of how much vaccinations are protecting our population of 2.5, 3, 4-year-olds. Like I presume everyone else in this meeting, I am vaccinated, and I was very, very eager to be vaccinated last year when I was similarly interacting with young little kids and hoping that none of us were getting exposed. I read recently that there's movement for vaccinations to be available to age 5 through 11, I think, which is extremely exciting for me. I know that all of our community is very hopeful and eager to get back to normal life, and that is not going to be possible until more of us are vaccinated and more of us are protected. So I certainly can support the message of more people and all of us getting vaccinated. Thank you.
Councilmember Hayner.
Yeah, I'm going to use one of my 2 minutes here to just speak to this. There's a lot in that budget, right? So supposedly they boosted $100 million for affordable housing, which is really a drop in the bucket. We know just Washington County is just like $1 billion problem, we've been told. And yet I just want, it's just, so when these things come before us, they're very political, right? And clearly this is sort of like a politically charged matter. And so, you ask us to answer to a roll call vote, and that's fine. But I just, I think it's well within our reasoning to want to know exactly what we're saying. I doubt we would send a message to Governor Whitmer, don't support this budget when it has so many other great things in here. Hopefully whatever comes back and we end up doing around this sends the right kind of message that there are good things in this budget and bad things in our budget. We need a budget to move forward, right, as a state and as a community. And it's like my politics are mostly focused around water. And so, this is going to have a cost in staff time, and that's fine. And I hope that it's the sort of situation, Mr. Postma, where if we have our own questions about what happens and what your research is doing on this, that we can send them to you, like we do with any other thing you're researching. I'm still wondering what, how we got to last week's presentation about asking staff to put together evaluation and moving to Great Lakes Water Authority. We didn't bring that for a ask everybody to vote. And in fact, no one wanted to take responsibility for that, even though we were told it was a council matter. So we do some odd stuff here. Also, Sunday, October 3rd from 2 to 6 p.m., there's another event at the library lane at the Ann Arbor Community Commons is sponsoring a pretty fun event. And you can look it up. It's called it's got a lot of, it's called FAN, F-A-N. And so if you're interested in that sort of thing, there's things trying to happen down there, and some of them are pretty interesting. So check it out. Center of the city. Thank you.
Councilor Grand.
Thank you. I just, there are many things that we argue about. I'm often thankful at this table that we don't argue about things like vaccines, right? Or should we have guns in schools? Or this Saturday, there's a march coming up about reproductive rights, right? So I'm always thankful that as Democrats, we don't have to have those conversations at this table. I hope that trend will, and I really mean it sincerely, continue, because we have so many other matters of importance. Councilmember Song and I, our kids were vaccinated the same day at the same, right, one after the other. I hope that we can, this was an opportunity to really speak with one voice. And in the future, I always tell people only like 2 to 5% of what, comes out of my mouth, like that's compared to what goes through my head. And so it would be great if we could just vote without commentary, because it's not like I'm not tempted either. But sometimes it's just important to vote.
Councilor Song.
That was actually just one child that was vaccinated. My youngest is still unvaccinated because she's too young. And I'm eagerly waiting for that to come through. I talked to some county health folks over the weekend that looks like they're trying to target for mid-October for ages 5 to 11. There's also some talk about testing being slowed down, and it's been difficult because the grant that covered at-home kits that was sent over the summer to county residents was a CDC grant that ran out. But again, as Councilmember Medina had mentioned, if you go to the county health site, I think there's over 11 places that's recommended, including county health's office. I wanted to thank our state reps for working so hard on the state budget. There was a lot of talk over the weekend, and some of us ran into them too. Senator Jeff Irwin was able to land $500,000 in for a county reentry program, and that's extraordinary work. As well as $200K for Lori Terrace. I'm really excited about this budget, and that the state budget, and that there's real concerns addressing childhood poverty, multi-generational poverty, and social justice directly. So kudos for our Democratic state reps for working so hard. Thanks.
Councilmember Regina.
Thanks. I'll be really brief. I just want to extend thanks again to staff who have been working on a lot of important stuff quickly for us recently, and I know particularly when doing hiring and being involved in hiring for such high profile positions, it can take away a lot from the other work that you're doing. And so thanks to everybody who's been involved in that, who's provided feedback and who's helped us. And I also just wanted to not let something slip by that I'm not sure that we mentioned earlier, which is, that if Mr. Dohoney accepts this position, he will also become the first Black city administrator we've had in, I think, 4 decades. And I think that is important to note as well, because obviously we've had some pretty significant things happening here in the city recently. And I hope that it marks a shift for us. And I think in addition to all of his additional leadership, I think it's just an important thing to note for us.
Further communication from council. Nothing for me except then thank you to Councilmember Medina for referencing our state legislators. I do also want to recognize that I neglected to thank Representative Robbie, with whom I corresponded a fair bit on the vaccine mandate issue, and him doing what he can to help me and us understand the lay of the land and what's going on. And so he was instrumental in that process. So thank you, Representative Robbie. Further communication from council. We have a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councilmember Griswold, second by Councilmember Dish. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned. Mr. Fournier et al.